All set, Amy?
Yes.
Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the September 18th, 2023 Franklin Planning Board meeting. This meeting is audio and video recorded. It's also on Zoom, and the Zoom call-in number is 312-626-6799 with a meeting number 94300660666. Initially, we'll take care of some general business first. Our agenda is getting pretty busy over the next month or so, next 2 months. So I want to see if everybody's open to adding an additional meeting October 23rd, which will lighten up our load for some of the additional meetings. Is everybody good with that?
Yeah,
So-
sounds good.
Make a motion to add a October 23rd meeting.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. General business, we'll take there's an endorsement for Prospect Hill subdivision. Amy, if you want to, from Department of Planning, if you could give us a brief review.
Sure, thank you, Mr. Chairman. The applicant has submitted the Mylars to be endorsed. The subdivision is accessed through Franklin, and all the lots are located in Bellingham. Bellingham has approved it and has signed the Mylars. The private road covenant for the subdivision has been signed by our town administrator as well. That was a requirement for that. So it's,
So everything's clear through Mark and
Yes.
DPW and everybody? Okay.
yes.
Anybody have any comments or questions?
Make a motion to endorse Prospect Hill subdivision.
Do I hear a
Second.
second? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. Our second item of business would be the meeting minutes from July 10th. If everybody's read the meeting minutes, if there's any additions or deletions. If not, make a motion to accept July 10th meeting minutes of 2023. Do we hear a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And the July 24th, 2023 meeting minutes, if anybody has any additions or deletions. If not, make a motion to approve the July 24th meeting minutes.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. So now we'll go to, this will be a continued public hearing for Zero Upper Union Street solar project. Amy, if you could give us a brief overview, please.
Sure. I actually received an email. They'd like to be continued to October 16th.
Okay. Do I hear a motion, do I make a motion to continue to October 16th?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, our next public hearing would be a continuation from 15 Liberty Way. If I could go to Amy for a brief update on that.
Yeah, I know that they were working through all their conservation issues, and I think that they have gotten through those, and they're just looking at, right now, the engineering plans and the stormwater, recommend that they be continued to October 16th.
Okay, so that'll be another one for the 16th. Do I hear a second to continue to October 16th?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Next would be a scenic road permit for Upper Union Street. If I could go to Amy for that, please, Department of
Chairman,
Planning.
make a motion to waive the reading.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Per our town code 170-53, it requires that any tree or stone wall removal within a scenic road must seek a permit through the planning board. I also want to note that our DPW director has also submitted a letter for the tree removal, as well as the shrubs that are here. He did not have any issues with any of this being removed, so I defer to the planning board for the decision.
Okay. I just had a couple of questions, if you could, how many lineal feet was being removed?
30 feet?
How many?
30?
Oh, just 30? Okay. One more question after that. Is it possible to take some of that stone and just do a rotation, turn the radius into the entrance itself?
Okay.
Not as much as.
Get any
Just a-
rain on your way home?
Can we?
Yeah.
the
We need to
person-
mute. Maxine, can you please mute? Thank you. Looks like the applicant's here. That could answer that.
If you could just introduce yourself?
Sure. It's Rich Tabazinski with Atlantic Design Engineers. And, yeah, the stone wall that's there isn't really a very manicured stone wall. It's basically a bunch of larger boulders and rocks kind of piled up together. So we can take those and create like a radius on each side, kind of like an entrance for
I'm
the
just thinking
project,
to
sure.
keep the scenic road itself.
Yeah, that's
if-
definitely no problem,
if-
yep.
Everybody else is on board with it? I mean, if it's feasible, if the stones aren't workable, then that's one thing, but if it can keep with the continuity of the road, that'd be good.
Yep.
Yeah, okay. Anybody in the audience? Questions, comments? Anybody in Zoom? No? Okay, so, Make a motion.
to close
I had
the
a
public
question.
hearing.
go ahead.
Yeah, I
Yes.
just was wondering, I live on Ribeiro, which is off of Upper Union. I just was
I'm gonna-
wondering
The work calls.
what part of,
I'll come see you guys in a
Can
few
you hear
minutes,
me?
okay?
Can we mute?
Yeah.
Thank you.
sorry, can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay, so I just was wondering where the 30 feet was going to start? Like, was it gonna start, is it basically planning like to have a road, right, up from Upper Union down along that stone wall, which you're referring to, for 30 feet? Or is that 30 feet gonna start somewhere down into the woods a bit off of Upper Union?
Approximately how far is the entrance from Ribeiro Drive? How's that? Because that'll
Oh,
detect,
okay. Yeah.
I think it's a little bit ways down the road.
So,
This
but
stone-
you'd access it from Upper Union, basically?
Correct, so they're basically just taking a little bit of the stone wall out just to create the entrance for the gravel road on the way in.
Right, and it's about 230 feet from north of Ribeiro Drive.
Okay, so it's quite a bit distance, yeah. Does that help you?
Okay, well, yeah, but I mean, how do they access the start of that road that they're planning on building from Upper Union if it doesn't start like that, if it's already that far in? Do you know what I mean? Like, as I'm just wondering how would they access the start of that road if it's not built from Upper Union? You know what I mean?
Good. Yeah, well,
All right, so I'm gonna, this road that we're discussing here directly abuts Upper Union Street, and the stone wall that we're talking about is, I don't know, it looks to be about 10 feet or so off of the edge of Upper
Yep.
Union, is that correct?
Approximately,
So
yeah.
this road is going to start on Upper Union Street, and then you're gonna go 10 feet off the road, and that stone wall that's 10 feet off the road is going to be removed for a width of 30 feet to allow for this access road.
Oh, okay, and then so the access road is going to allow them to go down there, and then the start of another scenic road is not for what you said, 200 some feet?
No,
And that's the start of,
That's just the start of Ribeiro Drive to give you a spatial point to refer to.
oh, okay.
so the entry
okay.
of the gravel road is approximately 250 feet from Ribeiro Drive.
Okay,
That help?
okay.
Okay,
All right, great. Thank you so much.
thank you. Anybody else, questions, comments? If not, I make a motion to approve the scenic road permit for,
You're gonna close, motion to close the public hearing?
sorry, motion to close public hearing, do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. So I make a motion to approve the scenic road permit for Upper Union Street with the letter from the tree warden, from DPW, from Mr. Category. Do I hear a second? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. You're all set.
Thank you very much.
All right. Our next public hearing will be initial public hearing for 138 East Central Street. So I make a motion to waive the reading. Do I hear a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. If you could just approach the mic and introduce yourselves, please.
How's it going? Brad Chaffee, owner applicant. Mr. Chairman, if I may too, just from We Art Design Review, I do have just a little packet that actually shows what the building's gonna look like, if you don't mind.
Yeah.
Just to show you. Thank you.
Good evening, Rick Goodrow with United Consultants, here this evening with Brad. Property as shown here on the locust map is actually consisting of two properties, 122 and 138 East Central Street. A little color up here of the proposed project. So there's an existing building at 122 and also an existing building at 138 East Central Street. The applicant's proposing an addition here and a reconfiguration of the parking lot here with some regrading and striping to accommodate both building uses. Additionally, the applicant is proposing to remove a significant amount of pavement in the front of the building and create these two islands here with landscaping. Pedestrian access would be via two sidewalk systems on the west and north side of the existing building. 3 entry points for multiple tenant spaces would also be available. We have been before the Conservation Commission. We've gotten comments from them. We're working through those. We've also received comments from the DPW, from the Town Planning Department, as well as from Beta. We scheduled a meeting with Mike Maglio and Gary tomorrow to go over some of the stormwater items, but the basic overview of the stormwater is we're proposing to take the roof from the existing building as well as the proposed addition and put it into an underground infiltration system located to the front of the building. So, as I had mentioned, we have some items to go through with Gary and Mike just to get on the same page. We're working through the items with the Conservation Commission. Also, there are multiple access points currently here. We are proposing just to consolidate everything into one access point as well and eliminate some of the curb cuts. Brad, I think, has given you guys some of the architectural renderings, so you get an idea of what the building looks like. And that's basically what we're here for this evening. Be happy to answer any questions you may have.
Okay. Before I go to the rest of the board, I'll go to Amy from Department of Planning. Amy, if you could give us a run-through, please.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just a couple of recommendations. You mentioned that the letters are coming in and I'm working with Conservation. I'm recommended that they show the structures within 300 feet on the site plan, so I know that there's a house up front and there might be one in the back. To show the main entrance and any other entrances, which I think Mr. Goodrow just kind of elaborated on. The snow storage should be added to the plans. Provide any size or sketch of any signs that might be added to the plans, and then any additional landscaping that they would choose to do for the site.
Okay. All right. Were there any waivers listed? I think
No.
there was two.
Or was there two?
HD pipe and the Lights Village? Okay,
Correct.
I just want to make sure I read, okay. All right, thank you, Amy. I'd like to go to Mike from DPW before I go to Gary.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We reviewed the plans, just had a few comments on it. It was just, one question we had, it wasn't clear if the two lots are gonna be combined into a single lot as part of the project, or they're gonna stay separate lots, and if that had any bearing on any of the zoning issues relative to that. There appears to be an existing gravel access drive between the proposed parking area and the existing house next door. I think it's 118 and 122 East Central Street. I just want to note if that was going to be closed off or that was going to remain open for people to cut through the back there or not. Had a question about the drawdown time for the underground storage system for the stormwater, and just wanted to see some notes regarding the net increase or decrease of the impervious coverage on the site as a whole.
Okay, so that's what you're gonna be working on over the next.
We're going to meet tomorrow and
meetings.
discuss a few of the
Okay.
items, yeah.
Okay. We'll go to Gary from Beta, if you want to just give us a brief, I know you're gonna be meeting tomorrow, so if you want to give us a brief overview, that'd be good, please.
Yeah, there is a, as Mike stated, there is a proposed reduction in the overall impervious on the site. And the site is pretty small. I think it's less than 30,000, like 30-something thousand. So it's really not subject to the bylaw or the stormwater management, because it's less than an acre. But unfortunately, but it is subject to the Mass stormwater standards. So our review was pretty much limited to compliance with those standards. Couple of other things. There's an AUL on the adjacent site, which is an activity and use limitation. But I'm not sure if it extends over to this parcel, and that was one of the questions I had, because there's some pavement remaining between the two buildings, and I'm not really quite sure, are they proposing any storage of materials? It's not wide enough to provide any access for a vehicle, so I guess the question mark is why is it being maintained, and if it is being maintained for the purpose of storage, then it should be noted for outside, it should be noted because it complies with the bylaw. Secondly, on the south side, between the residence and the building at 138, there's a little strip there, and it's paved. And I'm not sure if it's wide enough to be able to provide vehicle access, and I guess that was the question mark. So if it isn't wide enough to provide vehicle access, then I guess the question mark is why would that remain? Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. The other issue is that when you look at the grades coming directly off of East Central Street, it's pretty steep. It gets up to about 6-7%. The two spaces there, what is it, 8 and 9?
8 and 9, I believe it is.
8 and
yeah.
9 are probably the most critical ones. I'm not sure, they're not really gonna be that usable. Once you get above, the normal on a parking lot is 3% max. So, I mean, I'd say go to 5%, probably be the max, but when you get up above 5, when you open your door, you're not.
It's gonna swing back sharp.
Yeah, you're not stopping the door.
Yep.
Same thing going against it. I think the other issue I said I had a comment on was see if there's any potential for some form of stormwater on the down gradient side of the parking lot above the wetlands. Other than that, the infiltration system is good size, and it provides, I believe, almost 2.5–3 inches of storage. So it's certainly adequate to be able to meet the issues associated with that roof runoff. Other than that, there is a little bit of minor light spillage that they're going to have to request the waiver.
Okay. So I'll go to the rest of the board first before I move along. Jen, you had some questions?
Yes, through the chair, I have a few questions to the applicant. Well, first of all, I just want to say, I think this is awesome. I mean, to see an unutilized site that really should be remediated, a proposal like this is exciting to see in our downtown commercial one area. My first question, and I'll just list my questions and then you can respond afterwards. But the house that is to remain, is that to remain long-term? Is it to remain with its current use? I can't even remember actually if it's vacant right now or not, but just wondering what the sort of short-term and long-term plans are for that structure on 122. The connection, and Gary, maybe this is what you're alluding to, but in the, I guess it's south, but plan north, junction point of the two 130 and 122, where that handicap spot and the clearance connect the two parcels, is that intended to be a drive-through area? Or I guess what I'm wondering is what is the purpose of maintaining that paved connections? If I'm reading that correctly, I could be reading it incorrectly, between that area. And then lastly, only 20 spaces are required, parking spaces, based on the district and the bylaws. So could we eliminate a couple parking spaces, introduce more pervious area or green space or landscaping, particularly, again, to address some of the grade change challenges with spots like 8 and 9, or as you get closer to the drive coming off of East Central Street. But overall, I think this is great and exciting, and appreciate you bringing this forward. Thanks.
Thank you. Would you like,
J-
would you like me just to quickly address it? or go through?
Let's go through, because everybody else may have similar
Yeah.
comment. If that being said, Jay, any question,
The only
comment?
question I had right now was about the house, so.
Okay. Rick? Okay. Beth?
Yeah, I think, if Amy mentioned showing the buildings on the plan, that would be really helpful. So the question I have is on 122, it's going to remain a two-family, and then, do you own 118 next door to that?
It's the only one I don't.
No. So that kind of brings in a question then. Parking spots 21 through 25. What is separating those parking spots and the headlights that might shine into the abutting residential use right there? Is there anything planned for there, screenscape, anything that will, because those are introduction of, I'm assuming, new parking spots that are, I think, impactful to your abutting residential use. So I'm just curious how you can address that. And knowing that you do own 122, the two-family there, parking spots 8 and 9, again, don't look very far from that residential use. So how are you going to address anybody living there? Certainly, I know it's like no different than a driveway, but if it's rental property, is there anything you can do to help with that? Otherwise, echo Jen's sentiments. It's nice to see the project going to be used.
Okay, good, thank you. Well, everybody's touched upon a few of mine. Snow, actually, Beth touched upon the parking for the house. It's a two-family, correct? I'd possibly like to see the signs dedicated for the parking.
Okay.
Something to that effect, whether it's gonna be 21, 8, 9, and to Gary's point, there is quite a bit of a drop-off on the corner of the house, on the left side of the house going into the lot. Are you proposing a retaining wall or something there to make that corner work? Kind of where 8 and 9 and 21 come together. It's a tight corner right there, but you got probably a 4-foot grade drop. May want to take a peek at that,
All right.
if you could. Dumpster location, and if there's fencing and whatnot around it, if you can look into that as well. And there's also, you have a loading docks at the rear of the building. Are those gonna have dock levels, or are those just ground level with a garage door?
Just ground level.
Ground level with a garage door, so you'll have to have grease trap, et cetera, okay. In the screening, I believe that was one of the comments for the loading docks for the people on Cross Street across the way. You're gonna make sure we get some kind of screening for them for the headlights for that as well. How many tenants you plan on putting in the building? 3?
Including myself as well.
Including yourself? Okay. What else? Signs, dumpster waivers, and the 2 waivers we talked about. Yeah, no, it's nice to see this building get put back together after so many years of being vacant, so yeah, it's, it'll be nice to see. In the addition, I actually had a question, but the addition is only 1 story. That's not 2-story, okay. So where the fenced-in area is, that you have right now, is that gonna be like courtyard area? If that's how I read it, kinda, it's gonna be an open courtyard or something, or is it still gonna stay fenced? I'm just asking, I'm curious.
The fence will obviously be reduced a lot. Right now, we kind of did that just to keep people from going traffic through there. So by the time we put that addition on, there'll be, maybe 10 feet of fence, the guardrail will stay, and just to.
As a barrier?
You won't see it as much.
Okay.
Like now, it's a little more predominant.
Okay, and then I had one more quick question on, come up on the landscape plan, but where the underground detention basin is, will that be all green space?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
Good.
I
Oh, go ahead, Jay.
How are you planning to utilize the overhead doors in the back?
The existing one that's there now, you mean? Yeah, we'll make a newer, I mean, we're gonna.
Are you gonna be able to like swing in there and?
It's just gonna be for, my truck and, it won't be like
They'll look like
equipment. Yeah, it's more of for us parking and stuff, using the back, staying away from the parking lot for the people that are using the front. I'm almost hiding my business so that people get a storefront.
Perfect, thanks.
Okay. Anybody in the audience have any comment? If you could just approach the mic and give your name and address, please?
Sure. This one here, is that okay?
Yes.
Okay, I'm Kathy Martin. My husband Bill and I live at 33 Cross Street, sorry. Kind of surrounded by the two properties. And I just want to echo you, I'm glad you're doing this. It's great. It's nice that the building will be, looking nicer. So I just had a couple questions about, well, two things. I know when the food pantry was going to be there, the trees were going to be, affected, but it sounds like our trees are good. That's what I thought. That's awesome.
They're very mature and they have a lot of screening. So.
Okay, that's awesome. And then the other thing was, the grade is pretty steep. And I think it's just gonna look nicer and still be as steep as it was. So I'm just wondering if that's just gonna affect any rainwater, water coming into our yard, because it kind of goes down and then we kind of go up the other way, so we're kind of gonna be. So that was my only question, is I don't think it will affect us at all, but that was my concern, so. But it sounds like it's gonna be good?
Yep.
Okay, good.
Rick, if you want to explain.
Sure. So we've actually proposed grading for the site such that everything's going to be directed towards the wetland from a surface water standpoint. And Mr. Chairman, the proposed trash receptacle dumpster area is located here.
Okay.
And there is a detail for
There
chain
was.
link fencing with privacy screening
Okay.
around it
Okay.
on the detail page, just to address those couple of
I
quick
just-
comments.
I could have missed
Yeah.
it, sorry.
We tried to hide it, so I
Yeah, I
guess we did a
noticed
pretty
that.
good job.
Well, I saw the pad, I didn't see anything else. Okay.
If you'd like, I can address a couple of the.
Yeah, I mean, if you want to address,
Sure.
the comments?
Just kind of starting with Jen. So 122 as of now is going to remain. We did fully gut it, so it's, very nice inside. We have 2 tenants in there. So that's the game plan. I think once this site is kind of restored, that place will look a lot nicer too. It's kind of, surrounded by all of this at the moment.
Yeah.
So, but, like I said, we've fully renovated that place inside last year. So, as of now, the plan is just to keep that the way it is. As far as kind of the connection goes, just kind of echoing, there's a lot of nice vegetation over there. I'm not sure exactly what they are, if some type of arborvitae hedge. It's really thick, it's really nice. So we just kind of kept it the way it was without trying to disturb too much. As far as someone driving a car through there, they'd have to drive, they'd really have to go through the tree, and it would be an effort. And I'm not sure how nice they'd make it on the other side, but that was the whole thing, just to kind of keep it the way it is. If not, we rip up the asphalt and we put dirt there, or mulch, and then it's under the trees. So that was the thought process.
Could
It looks
you
like
put?
there's an existing baller there.
I was just gonna say, could
There
you
is-
drop a couple bollards
Yeah.
in so
Oh, yeah.
people don't create that as
Yeah,
a
no,
cut
we're
through
happy
to
to do
cross
that.
street for
Yeah.
the neighbors?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, as everybody knows, that site has people traversing every which way before. So that's the reason why I put the guardrail up. So I am happy to stop any of that in the future. It's very dangerous. So, yep, we can add a bollard to that, no problem. As far as, just some of the parking, depending on who you talk to and what business it is, parking can be the biggest thing, or it could be not so big of a thing. So we tried to utilize as much, of the asphalt that's there in the right spot for parking. So that's where we got our spaces from. So yes, we have a few more, that's needed from the bylaw, and kind of took out all in the front to give it that curb appeal. So that was kind of our balance of doing it, but I did try to get as much parking as I could, just so there wouldn't be a parking problem down the line. So.
Yeah.
Through the chair, just another question to add
Yeah.
to that. If we maintain a higher number of spots than are required, would you consider installing an electric vehicle charging station to be able to support where our future is going in terms of the green community. I'm just gonna throw it out there, you don't have to answer it right now, but,
I am learning a lot about
I
cost
have
and
no, I
how to
don't know
do
what
it
they
and
cost, I don't know what
how
the incentives
we're
are, I
putting
don't
out.
know what the current
Yeah, they're not cheap.
infrastructure
No,
bill
we
is
can have enough-
helping or not, I don't, but I just wanted to throw it out there.
Okay, yep. I would love to put them in the buildings, but now our insurance carriers don't want to carry that anymore because of the fires. So they push you to go outside, and that's very expensive. So it's new.
Yeah.
I'll put it that way.
Yeah, yeah.
But I am happy to take a look at that.
Okay.
That it?
Yeah, sorry.
Oh, okay.
To Beth's point, just on the two residents, there is a grade change. So the 122, the two-family, and the one next door, we are at their basement level. So, which both of them are very old. There's no finished basements or anything. I'm happy to add some screening there, but as far as headlights and everything, all the living quarters of those are a story above. So I don't anticipate there being any headlights or anything shining into a residence.
Is it the same onto 118?
Yeah, they're almost identical. I should say almost they are. They're identical, kind of two families, and they're both walkout basements from the slope from 140. Okay.
Don't we have code for the 10 feet for that anyways, Gary? Mike?
I thought it was the zone and not the use.
Okay.
I'll
I
go
knew
back
that, I
and- I'll
knew
go
it's
back
out
and
there,
look
I
at
just
it.
couldn't remember off the top of my head. Okay.
Yeah, I'm trying to think too, the same thing.
Okay,
I believe it's a residential zone,
I
and
thought
that
it was a
118
zone,
is a
yeah.
commercial zone.
okay.
So the property to the back, which
So the
Gary had
back would-
commented
would-
on,
Part of it, okay.
yeah,
Are you gonna use the same curb cut that's there?
no,
Okay, you're gonna move it
I'm
down?
gonna relocate
And
it.
you have enough room for the light pole? You're not doing any relocation of light poles or anything like that? You don't wanna go down that road?
I tried to
You
get
can
him
do
to.
electric charging stations at the same time, you know?
Not touching the pole.
Okay, just asking.
You know better than anybody.
Well, it's not on your rendering, that's why I'm asking if you're doing underground,
Doesn't
so.
look as pretty with a
Yeah.
pole in it.
Okay,
May I
you had a
ask one more
question? Sure.
Mr. Chairman? For spaces 25 through 21, would it make sense to put curb stops there too, or is that, in your opinion, not necessary? I mean, seeing that you'll have cars heading into a residential area. You have them over by your building. but
Well, that's the
not-
one abutting the 118?
Yeah.
Yeah, we could do that.
I think it would make sense.
Yeah, if you could put that house on this plan as an overlay, that would be beneficial. Give us a better idea, because I'm not sure where it actually lands on the corner there. See a partial of it. You good? Okay.
I think that was the questions. for the
You
board.
good for now? Okay. So you'll be getting together with DPW and Beta, and start clarifying some of the drainage issues and whatnot. Is anybody in Zoom have any comments or questions, or anybody else in the audience? Okay. We'll make a motion to continue 138 East Central Street to
23rd.
over the 23rd? Go to October 23rd.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thank you. All right. We'll go to our next public hearing. It should be for 100 to 200 Financial Way. You want to just introduce yourself for the record, please?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Doug Hartnett, Principal with High Point Engineering, representing the applicant Berkeley Partners this evening. I don't know if it's necessary really to present anything. I'll provide a brief update from our last hearing a month ago. So High Point has submitted a revised set of plans to Beta and the board based upon their second peer review in, it was like early August. and supplemented that with a follow-on submission that included some of the items that the board had requested: snow storage plan, bank parking plan, draft A&R plan, formal waiver requests regarding the HDP, or the PVC pipe that we discussed earlier, and then an update to the parking waiver because of the adjusted parking demand numbers based on what Gary suggested we calculate for the zoning. So that was submitted, and we received Beta's letter, I got it Friday, and we are digesting that. We also have, regarding the off-site traffic, there was a response back to Beta from their, it was their second peer review on the off-site traffic items. We've received their letter back, and our traffic consultant, MDM, is currently reviewing that and looking to address the comments raised by Jacqueline at that time. And so we had requested through Amy a meeting with all the consultants and the Beta team and Mike to go through all the kind of, call it the loose ends, if you will. You know, I saw Gary's letter. He brought up some other points regarding the stormwater design. We want to get those resolved, obviously, to their satisfaction. The off-site traffic items are obviously a concern of the board's, but it's important to have Mike Maglio's input on that decision-making in terms of what is the optimal decision, if you will, for mitigating that intersection. So they were nice enough to accommodate us for a meeting tomorrow at 2 o'clock, and we'll be able to report back to the board. My phone is ringing. I don't know why. Apologize for that. Potential spam. Who would have thunk? Sorry about that.
That's okay.
So we'll have that meeting tomorrow. We will be in a position to meet with the board on our traffic meeting on the 25th. As for conservation, we had our meeting with them on the 7th of September. We've addressed all of Beta's comments to their satisfaction with the exception of the stormwater. So once Gary's team and us come to some agreements on the appropriate final revisions to the plan, then we would submit that to the board and to the commission, and we expect a positive vote at that point in time once that's resolved.
Okay.
So I think that takes care of the different items. I'm happy to answer any questions or
Okay.
from that.
I'll go to Amy first from Department of Planning. Amy, you have any
Yeah, thanks,
comments
Mr.
or
Chairman.
questions?
Yeah, I just kind of outlined in my letter, and I think Doug just kind of touched on a lot of this. They had requested the waiver for the HDP pipe, which they submitted. The board also wanted to see a draft A&R plan, so that's also has been submitted. Some other comments were additional snow storage, and the waiver in the parking spaces, which they have clarified that. So those are our comments right now. No comments on traffic, 'cause I know that was going to be discussed at next week's meeting.
Correct. Okay. Mike, I'll go to you for DPW. If you
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
quick
Our
brief until tomorrow, I guess.
Right, the majority of our comments have all been addressed. There's a couple of outstanding stormwater-related ones, which we're going to meet and discuss tomorrow.
Okay. Same with you, Gary.
Same thing,
Okay.
yeah, it's, the stormwater on this has become a little, quite complicated.
I was reading it, yeah.
Yeah,
So-
it's become a little bit more than just a simple design, only because of the fact that we've got so much redevelopment as opposed to the development, but yet it qualifies as a new development under the bylaws, so trying to meet the bylaw, and I think that's where we're gonna end up having, that's what's gonna be the real
Okay.
discussion.
Okay, good. Anybody? Jay, any comment, question? Rick? Okay. Jen? So I guess in a quick overview, the next meeting would basically pertain just traffic. And then probably the following meeting will pick up for all the balance of all the meetings that you're having with Gary and Mike potentially, if it's not all worked out.
Yeah, that's
in the
correct, Mr.
meantime,
Chairman.
because the next one's gonna be along with the traffic, I would imagine. So I wanna make sure we leave enough time for everybody for that one as well.
Right, we would
Okay.
expect, once we meet with Gary's team and with Mike, and we have maybe a better understanding on the goals and objectives that Gary's recommending to the board and the town,
we can go and revise the plans as required,
Okay.
resubmit. They need time to review and get back to us, so
That's
whether
what
we
I
can
was saying,
complete
'cause
that by
it's
the end of
next
the
week,
week,
yeah.
that's to be determined,
Yeah,
to
exactly.
see to what level we need to be able to address that, so.
Okay, we'll approach that as.
Yeah, we can look at that on Monday night and then figure out perhaps a hearing date at that
Okay,
time.
all right, good. So I make a motion to continue 100, is anyone in the audience or Zoom? No, okay. Make a motion to continue 100 to 200 Financial Way to 20,
25th, September
September
25th, for
25th?
next Mondays.
do I hear a second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Our next item of business will be for continuation of Maplegate North Solar. If we can go to Amy to Department of Planning.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I actually received an email today. They requested that they be continued to next Monday's meeting on September 25th to address any outstanding comments then.
Okay, so that makes 4 for the 25th, so. I just want to make sure we have enough time.
5.
5?
Yeah, I'll be okay.
Okay, all right. So make a motion to continue Maplegate North Solar to September 25th. Do I hear a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. I'm getting there. The pile's diminishing. All right. Last and not least would be initial public hearing for a site plan modification for 3 Fisher Street. Make a motion to waive the reading. Do I hear a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Good evening. If you could introduce yourselves for the board and for the record.
My name is Casey Killam, and I'm one of the project managers and owners of 3 Fisher, the former Clark Cutler McDermott factory.
And I'm Rick Kaplan, partners with Casey
Okay.
on the property. We believe our civil engineer should be on the
It's either Dan or
Zoom.
Nick from Level Design Group.
Yep.
Okay.
He's on.
So you want to, how do you want to go? You want to go to you first, Amy, or you go let them present? We'll have you
want-
present. as
Yeah,
a-
do a brief overview
Yeah.
of the plans and
Casey do that.
um,
while we're here.
Okay, sure. I can do a brief overview. So obviously, we've been going through this project for about 3 years now. When we started this pre-pandemic, the intention was to focus on a redevelopment of the site for retail, office-type uses with a mix of warehouse and manufacturing. Since that time, we've had a total change in the market of real estate, and for our site, what we have moved forwards on is to not do retail at this time. It's still our dream and our hope someday to go forwards and do that redevelopment, but the redevelopment of the site will be focusing on bringing it up to today's standards aesthetically through all new windows in the old warehouse building, upgrades to the site, and make it just more palatable for the environment, the neighbors. And what we're going to do is keep the uses that we've had and maintain those throughout the building. So 29 Hayward has consistently been for production and warehousing, as we brought to the board previously. Our tenant PCI has been in there for quite some time now. They've been a great tenant of ours, and I think a really good neighbor to have. So they're actually going to be expanding into 5 Fisher Street, and we signed a lease on the original Clark Cutler McDermott building that we call 3 Fisher Street. They are a single tenant that will be taking that entire building. The company's called Medallion Logistics. They're out of Plainville originally, and now they'll be relocating to Franklin. We think they're going to be a great fit for the property and the area, very low impact. They're a kit packaging company, so different widgets that people invent or whatever, they will assemble and actually package those in the facility. So it seems like overall we have a much more defined plan than the last time we were here, and we just received Biz comments. Dan, our engineer, is reviewing those, so really getting into the details of that, we're gonna need some time to process, and I know Dan's trying to set up a meeting with DPW and Beta to get those answered. But as far as the general plan for the site currently and what our intentions are as far as timeline, we're happy to answer any of those.
Okay, good, thank you. I guess if you could go to Dan, if he could give us an overview, if he can put the plan up on, so everybody could see it, and go through the plan from, I think more importantly, the biggest changes from what was to what is now, because it's a fairly
Yeah, actually-
substantial, very substantial change.
We don't think so, but
Yeah.
as in case
Do
you
you
talk
mind if
about
I
it,
just answer the
the
quick?
overall
Yeah.
modification.
Sure.
So the biggest change was on the approved site plan previously, we had to tear down a large section of 3 Fisher Street. It's the kind of, most history of the site is the original Clark Cutler wood structure. And we had several engineers look at it. They all deemed that structurally was deemed to be in disrepair and needs to be removed. We took a creative approach on that and found a way of saving it, which we think is going to be a huge win for the community and for us to be able to keep that building. And that large change is what triggered us to come back for a site plan modification. So instead of that area being parking spaces, it's now going to be maintain a building.
Could you show the board? I'm not sure everybody's familiar with the site. What
Do you mind if I come around
particular?
and point to it?
Yeah, just so everybody sees it. Which
As well.
parcel?
So what happened was, right here, well, this section right here, that was gonna be torn down as additional parking.
Mhm.
This is the actual wood section of the building.
Mhm.
Everything else is brick and block. We decided to keep this section, and again, one tenant's gonna take it to the building. So that's the section that we're keeping, that on the original plan showed removing.
Okay. Just, there's a lot of lines on this drawing, so just trying to give everybody their bearings, so what's existing, what's coming down, what's
Yeah.
going up. I mean, there's a lot of information here, that's why I just wanted to make sure everybody else sees it as well as myself.
And then the only other large part of this was the large parking lot at the back of the site that's adjacent to the retail that's currently, or sorry, residential that's currently a field. That's going to be able to maintain being a field and green space for foreseeable future because of the uses are no longer going to be as parking intensive as we originally were planning on having.
Okay.
And overall, we're able to decrease the impervious surface on this project as well.
I will just make one general comment, I'm not in favor of the stacked parking. I would prefer to see more of the open parking lot, just utilize it, was originally on the first drawing. I'd say take those spaces and incorporate it in. I'm not sure of the rest of the board, but
If we could just let you know what, the way we came up with that was that PCI, the company that's expanding, that's already on the site, that's actually gonna be exclusively just for them. They have shifts, so the idea is just to stack them in with shifts. But yeah, we, of course, it'd be better to do it the other way, but
you're saving a little bit
timing
of
and-
money this way, but
It's a
this
lot of
gives you
money.
the opportunity, well, this still gives you the opportunity to give you a little additional parking as needed too, if need be, as well.
Right, we figured we
Yep.
could always do the rest of the parking
Yep.
if we needed to, if uses
Okay.
change over time, but.
So I guess I'll dive into it if, before everybody else. On the right-hand side of the site, where it's green and it's hashed out, you have a bit of an S-bend coming in. It looks like you have 3 parking spaces up against the building and then 4, maybe heading towards Haywood Street. See the lower, see the S-bend as you come in? See, that's not shaded, that's why. You have, let me think, 1, 2, you got 4 parking spaces and 3 parking spaces, the lower section. Right below the square. Center of the drawing, if you want to call it, south, east, slide over, down, yeah.
Yeah, that's the, what we call the courtyard.
Okay.
So
I just want to make sure that Gary and Mike see that in terms of backing in and out of there. Could be a little tricky. So make sure there's enough room to get in and out of those spaces. Has fire department seen this? I haven't seen anything from fire department either. Has Amy?
There was a
And
letter
it's-
in
We
Yeah,
had
they-
a call and we spoke with them as well.
Can we get
I can
comment?
follow up on
Can we
it.
get comment from fire department if we could? Dumpster pad location? Is it in the original spot? But
No, it was.
if you can
moved-
just show it on the drawings and in
It's,
the,
it's a note says concrete dumpster pad with fence and gates, pad 4 inches above surrounding grade. And it's
Okay,
right behind.
I agree, it's
7
not marked as it
Just-
should be, but we
yeah.
can better
Can
mark
you,
it.
can you
We do
address
have it
that?
there.
Yep. Also, handicap spaces and parking, if you could, it's kind of hard to see because there's so much on this drawing. I see one on the right-hand side of the site, one in the center of the site. What about the back of the site?
It's
I don't know if
right-
there's any additional handicap spots at the rear of the building?
it's
I didn't
right
see any.
against the entrance.
If you can just take a peek at that,
Okay.
as well as we have the trailers lined up, you have parking spaces, you overlapping them, overlaying them?
I'm sorry?
In
For
the,
tractor trailer parking?
yeah, in the rear, well, in the rear of the site, you have trailers in the rear of the site, and then you have parking slash right through.
Oh.
them.
Oh, Dan,
Correct that if you can, and whether it's
Yeah,
gonna be one or
take
the
that
other.
out.
Because that's gonna determine how many parking spaces you have there. Dumpster pad, fire department, handicap, back of the building. I mean, there was a lot of changes for the site itself. Okay, that was kind of my bullet list, but I just want to see what hear back from the rest of the board, if they have any comments, questions. Go ahead, Beth.
So I understand there's nothing you can do about market conditions and the switch over to keeping it in its current, the state that it's already in is out of your control. But I'm just gonna say that I am disappointed that we're not gonna see any of the retail or uses that we had hoped for and planned for in this development. So
Agree with that.
I hope in the future you will maintain being open to seeing some commercial uses in there, which would be beneficial, not just an industrial use. But there are quite a few changes here, and I hope that we can address the comments that are outstanding from Beta and move forward with your new plan that you've submitted. So,
Thank you. Just to touch on that.
Yeah.
3 Fisher, which is a long, narrow building, one that got, we're leaving the older section. Our plan includes putting all new windows in there, for instance, because our hope is still to change it to retail, office, even restaurant. It's
Yeah,
really cool inside where what's it called? Power.
we're sandblasting, so
Sandblasting the beams.
the
All new
tenant
windows,
asked
like
us to
$500,000.
not do that. They asked us to keep the way it is now. That's not our vision. So the boarded up windows, they said, just leave those. That's perfect for us. That's not what we want. That's not what we want to own as a piece of real estate
So
in
you'll
the
see
area of
our
Franklin.
windows, we're spending $500,000 doing the windows around that entire building.
So we're
I'm sure the
doing-
neighbors wouldn't want that anyway, so.
Yeah,
It's
so
gonna look great.
it's gonna
got
look-
all new windows. Yeah.
we could keep everything the way it is, but we are spending the money now when it's the easiest to do a lot of these improvements with the dream and hope that the market will change in the future and we can do those things. Because if the building envelope looks great and that's done, and the inside sandblasted and that's done, it's gonna be so much easier at that time to pivot, so.
so you have one tenant that's taking over the entire building for 3 Fisher?
Correct.
And it's not a question you have to answer, but knowing that your future, you'd like to see that with some sort of retail or commercial use. How long is that lease with that tenant? 10 years, 5 years?
No.
15 years?
7. It was either 5 or 7 because we gotta amortize our costs into it, but it's 5 or 7, it's not
So
20
not a
years.
change in the near future, but
Okay.
I'm glad that you'll be updating it.
There are a few other areas of the site that we have ideas that we may be able to pivot sooner on.
That would be nice.
Don't want to cause confusion bringing those forwards yet, but we have a few different creative ideas that we're working on.
Good.
Okay.
Yeah, we like the idea also of bringing the community in, but it's just the
No,
market
I
right now, the
completely
cost of
understand.
construction to do,
Yep.
just didn't make sense.
Nope, understood.
I apologize, I missed one. Can you show snow storage on this drawing based on the new layout too,
Sure.
if you could? Okay, thank you. Jen, you had a question?
Yeah, through the chair, and I guess I just want to better understand. the use of the tenant now that's taking over the 3 Fisher building. Is that the tenant that you said is doing the kit?
Yes.
So what I'm not seeing on the site plan, specifically attached to this building in particular, is any type of loading at all?
It's right at the end of the building. And there's driving door and loading. It's
Nick, oh.
I stopped sharing the plan.
Yeah,
I
so
had
Is
it
it
on
on
my
the
screen. I was
narrowest
like,
end of the building, far
so
left?
the
Is it that drive? Is it
Yeah.
just that
Yeah,
drive?
that long drive on the left side.
So is that
to the
intended,
back.
is that intended to accommodate, like what kind of
Tractor
trucks?
trailer.
Just a single tractor trailer and then,
And then the front side is also
They-
one too.
They don't have a heavy loading requirement, which is again why we thought they were a good fit for the site. So it accommodates a single tractor trailer at the, we'll call it plan left end of the building. And
yeah,
then
I guess my concern is directly across the street there is, in particular, is all the residences. And the only way for trucks or tractor trailer to access this building is by backing up.
that is.
He'd have to
dock.
back up from the
That is
entrance on the
currently-
left all the way through those parking spaces? That's your intention?
That's currently where the loading dock is, currently, at the end of the building, and it's been there for 100 years or more. We actually widened that drive aisle to
And lowered
accommodate
it,
that.
and lowering it.
And the grade is getting lowered almost 5 feet at that point from its current height. Right now, tractor trailers have to back up a grade to get up to the building, and we're able to fix that. So there's one loading dock at that end of the building, and then there's one loading dock at the right side of the building as well.
And then I guess related to that, you know, I know, I'm trying to remember I don't have the previous plan in the online documents, unless it's in here and this is a big PDF, but, it looks like trucks can't then make the turning radius to come onto Fisher, so hopefully they'd still continue to be encouraged to go towards Hayward. So is there gonna be signage up that prevents trucks from coming in or trying to, be coming in and out of those drives off of Fisher in particular, or,
We would want them to come in
From
off of
Fisher.
okay,
And then exit
flow
through.
through the site and exit onto Hayward.
yeah.
Could you show the turning radiuses for a tractor trailer to get into that location? Because I'd like Gary and Mike to look at that. That's,
Okay.
just because it's there now doesn't make it right.
Oh,
Hate to
it's
say it,
improved.
but, to turn off Fisher Street, he's gonna have to pull into where you have the stacked parking lot. He's gonna have to back in blind all the way through the first parking lot into the alleyway.
Yeah.
A little bit of a tricky transition there. I'd like that to get looked at.
And then related to this building and this use in particular, is there a dumpster location identified for 3 Fisher to easily access?
It's
That was
right
the one
off
I
of
asked.
where their
Oh, sorry.
main
They're gonna,
entrance-
they're gonna show it.
Okay,
Yeah.
sorry.
Yep.
Okay, I guess I just, even if it was doing that for 100 years, 100 years ago, trucks didn't have backup signals and it's great that the situation's improving, but at the same time, it's also not the way that the site was originally sold in terms of its redevelopment to the community and to the people who do live across the street. So I wonder if, I'd like to in the future talk more about hours, particularly with the loading dock related to this tenant at 3 Fisher and what the expected hours of operation and delivery schedules will be, considering the residences directly across the street.
Okay.
Thanks.
Kind of to follow up on Jen's point, so you'll have, you mentioned the stacked parking is for shifts, what are their shifts? Is it
I
24
don't know
hour,
off the
just,
top of my head. It was whatever we approved last time when we came to the board for PCI. They haven't changed their shift hours.
kind of, again, what Jen's saying, if there's going to be a change in noise, do you have anything, what kind of operations and what they'll be producing, if they're taking over more space, hours, their shifts, just being aware of the neighbors, that's.
I think we're very aware of neighbors, but what do you mean noise? mean cars pulling in and pulling out?
We're operating within the zone and within the town ordinance for sound between 7 and 9. We're also, like we drew here, we're lowering the grade enough where the trucks are now going to be half below grade.
I don't mean the trucks, I mean the physical operation that the company is
That's gonna
doing.
occupy the building.
Oh, come this up, okay.
Yeah, what are they producing and what, you
To
know,
mail.
They assemble little kits for various companies. It's not like one specific.
No, PCI, the one that's expanding.
at Three Fish are.
Oh, Three Fish, I'm sorry.
That's where we're talking, right? We're
Yeah.
talking that building, and are they the ones utilizing the stacked parking?
No.
No.
Okay, who's utilizing the stacked parking?
PCI, they're the tenant that's in 29 Hayward.
29,
That's
okay.
the large building that's
Yeah.
separate.
Okay.
They're expanding into 5 Fisher Street. They're taking 2 sections of that.
Okay. Misunderstood. I thought that
Okay.
they were taking over Three Fisher, which was a budding. Okay.
No, they're taking the rear section of 5 Fisher as well as where they are right now, 29.
Okay.
No, the tenant that's in Three Fisher doesn't have a large shipping and receiving. They said that they have about only 6 trucks a day typically, so it's again why we thought it was a great fit for that size building.
I am curious though what the shifts are for that tenant that will be utilizing the stacked parking.
Sorry, the other thing related to noise through the chair is, again, Park Cutler McDermott, I don't know how loud it was, but their manufacturing processes were. I also admittedly don't know the exact allowable noise with this use within our bylaws, but since it is a wood structure and it is old, I don't know, are you planning on making other improvements to the building envelope itself to help control some of the noise of the manufacturing processes within the building at all? Are you adding insulation? Are you improving the actual envelope itself? Or is it strictly, you're replacing windows and paint, but the walls themselves are not being necessarily improved?
We are replacing the siding with Everlast siding, composite siding that looks like what's historically was there. We're replacing the windows, we're insulating as we're required to today's standards, but if we're being asked to insulate the building for noise levels, it's kind of a negligible thing to try to mitigate without having people come in and do testing before and after and trying to design a system that will actually prove to be sufficient. Just sticking insulation on the wall for audio issues is not really a viable option. We've tried it in another one of our facilities for a very different use. We're going to be renovating the entire envelope of the structure, but this isn't a high, as we've talked with Gus before, this is not a heavy industry use, which is not allowed in this zone.
Yeah, heavy industrial use is not allowed, which it has been in heavy industrial historically for many years. So the allowed use is the light and medium, I think it's called, light and medium?
Light and medium.
Is allowed,
manufacturing.
right.
Okay.
So the
And
uses
this
will be a
time-
lot less equipment than in the past. And we put all the windows in with today's standard, with all the insulation around it. I would expect it's going to keep whatever noise inside better. But
Yeah, for
but we
sure.
can't answer
Yeah, we're not-
whether it, noise carries out. I can't answer that. The windows will not be, they're not openable, right?
No, they're not operable.
They're not operable windows.
But like right now, there's just a single layer of plywood.
Yeah, you can basically see into the building,
Yeah.
through
Yes.
the, facade, yeah.
Yeah, we're definitely
Yeah.
improving it.
It's just all
Yeah.
wood. The window openings, if you look at the brick, we're going to follow the original brick openings. So we're gonna take out all the plywood that's in there now. And most of the plywood has like one homeowner window that was just stuck in there.
Yeah.
That's what it's, so we'll rip all that out and actually follow the brick with all brand new today's standard windows.
Thank you.
And you went to architectural design for this review? You signed off for
The only
additional changes?
The only requests that they made were for a change to the plantings, I believe it was, that they wanted an update to make sure that they were on the list of species that was appropriate for the town. And they requested a full light cutoff on Fisher Street, which we will be amending on our next submittal.
Okay. Anybody else? Nothing? No? All good? Trey? Anybody in the audience or on Zoom? Whoop, if you want, just want to Come to the mic and introduce yourself, name and address.
My name is Ann Wallace, and I live at 256 West Central Street, which is a direct abutter to the Fisher Street project. And I would love to have a copy of the new plan to see what's been changed, what's going on. I think it's great that you're doing the windows, because I look at those pitiful little things and think, what a shame, you know? But I was here last year, and I was concerned about a buffer between our condo association and the project, the whole thing. And my daughter went to the expense of planting, I think they're green giant arborvitaes. I forget how many, 15 or whatever. And it was my understanding that Rick was going to do something on his side. And so I'd like to know, you know, if there's any plan for that. It was my understanding that tonight there was going to be some talk about landscaping, and I was hoping that, you know, maybe there would be some mention of it, because the concern I have living right next door is headlights and noise.
Okay.
Is it possible to get a copy of the plan?
Sure. There you go.
I mean, do I need to pay for it, or?
You can have it.
And I can.
It's also
Sure.
online.
Yeah, it's online too, yep.
It's online.
That'll be, this is the updated one that the changes, and this is the original.
Okay, good.
Okay.
Thank you so
And I think
much.
Amy had landscaping on her notes.
I did.
to be-
You
So
want me
it
to?
was in a bullet list to have it addressed, but we weren't gonna originally like talk about it tonight. It was just for them to readdress
Okay.
for the landscaping plan.
All right.
All right?
Great, thank you.
You're welcome.
Thanks.
And I can address, the way we met, through her daughter, I actually went to their house and knocked on their door to introduce myself as a neighbor. So that's how we met and started the conversation.
Okay.
So I'm proactively with speaking to people, trying to, as far as the landscaping, what I recall from the conversation, just to let you know, is that we only have about this much room on our side of the fence.
Yeah,
So there's no way to do any plantings in
Yeah,
it. All right, maybe it's this
the-
much.
You need that much, because they grow up, not out.
Well, the asphalt, you can't plant something right next to the asphalt.
Starts going into the drive aisle.
You're not making the parking lot.
I went over and took
Yeah.
pictures last fall, and there's about that much space.
Well, let's see what the engineers come up with the final layout, because they're the ones that are gonna design where the asphalt starts and stops. Then it's gonna
I
determine
thought
what's
we
left.
proactively spoke to them,
Yeah.
said, is there anything you want us to do on your side? We're glad to do it. They asked us to meet with the condo association, and I said, well, someone from the condo association has to actually ask to meet me. I can't just meet with the condo association if they're not asking to meet with me.
Okay.
That was the last I heard of it.
I don't remember
Okay,
that
so let-
conversation.
If there's anything you want, I'm glad, my door's always open,
I
always has been
believe that you
open.
emailed my daughter and gave her one date that you would meet, and it was 3 weeks from then, and it wasn't.
I apologize, should have given them, did she ask me for another date? I'm glad to meet with
I
her or you.
believe she's emailed you a few
contact.
times.
So let's do
glad
this,
to
let's see what the landscaping plan looks like once they design it, then it's gonna determine how much land is left behind, and you guys can figure out
Yeah.
something off the side if need be.
Great.
Go ahead, Amy.
Oh, yeah, I just, if you don't mind, I just kind of wanted to address a few of my comments.
Sure.
Also to the board. A couple of them have already been mentioned, but providing the outdoor lighting, the open space, the snow storage, any signs that will be added. I think as far as landscaping, you know, when they came in originally, they had a full landscape plan, and that landscape plan should still be included through this submittal. It should still all be installed.
Correct.
You know, the area that, to the far corner of the site where they're not proposing parking, that can be cleaned up enormously and put nice landscaping there as well. I think when PCI came in, if I remember correctly, I think they were only gonna have like 2 or 3 trucks a day, which I think there's a lot more, and the concerns with the parking, the turning radius, might be worth, if the board wants, a traffic study, to see what's coming in, if there's, with the tractor trailers versus the PCI trucks. It's up to the board, but if they want to recommend a traffic study, you might want to kind of get more out of what is going to be coming in and out of this site. So those are the few things that I wanted to recommend.
Okay. Any thoughts?
Mr. Chairman, I
Sure.
wouldn't mind seeing circulation, internal circulation, and it doesn't show anything to have any idea of where trucks are coming and going, where cars are coming and going, how they're moving around. I think that maybe not a full traffic study, but at least understanding what's happening here with the
Take a
vehicles.
clean plan and mark it up. Don't have everything else in there. Don't have grades, whatnot.
It's hard
Just
to
show
follow, yeah.
your parking, show your direction of flows, maybe the turning radiuses of the trucks. If you could do that, that'd be,
Some additional details
Yeah.
on how many trucks are coming and going for the tenants and
I
shift
assume,
times.
Nick, I assume you're on the call, I assume you can show how traffic moves, is the bottom line, how traffic
Yeah, not a
moves.
problem. We'll put together a full traffic turning movement plan as requested for the proposed changes here and show all the access pathways for the trucking vehicles and show them actually pulling into the loading spaces. I took some notes. I understand the concerns, so we'll make sure to address all that in the revised set.
thank you. Okay, anybody else? Oh,
Is there a hand up
somebody has their hand up.
on Zoom?
Anybody in Zoom? Who's TB? Is it TB?
Hi, yeah, sorry. I'm just the owner at 54 Fisher Street, so we're right across from the factory.
Your name?
Timothy Buckman.
Okay.
So it was actually good to hear you guys talk about the noise. We've been really, really happy to see like even the Hayward building renovated, painted, like it's been really nice to see. So we're excited for the aesthetic. But we definitely have noticed a huge increase in noise backing up, specifically of trucks. And I just wanted to get clarification. So there shouldn't be any of that noise before 7 a.m. or after 9 p.m., right?
Correct.
And then I just have one more question in terms of like for this new tenant, which is really directly across from us. So are there working hours? Because it talked about shifts. Is it like all night long or is it also cut off at 9 p.m.?
The shifts we're talking about is with PCI.
Yeah, the existing tenant.
Existing tenant.
At 29 Hayward.
Yeah,
Which they're
understood. So
doing
like
now.
with the new building, I guess.
They're
would-
not a multi-shift company.
The one, I think he's referring to the one with the stacked parking that you mentioned will
Yeah,
have shifts.
there was some confusion earlier about which one was shift. So PCI, the existing tenant, is expanding into 5 Fisher at the other side of the site. They're the ones that work multiple shifts.
The one on 3
Yeah.
Fish across from,
Yep.
Your house.
across from your house is regular working hours, you know.
Yeah, understood. Five Fisher though with the loading docks is also directly across, so it's almost closely attached to 3 Fisher, I believe. So where that's expanding to, we've already noticed a huge difference in noise backing up. So I guess I'm just grateful to know you guys are thinking about the noise issue, especially late at night, early in the morning.
Amy, could you get us the operation of hours that we agreed to on the last site plan?
Yeah,
I don't need it now, just so
Yeah.
we're all, it's coming up a few times. And if you guys could designate potentially on each building the work shift hours, so we make sure we're all in compliance. One has 1 shift, one has 2 shifts, one has, if you could designate each building with its hours of operation and how many shifts, that'd be a little bit beneficial for us to make sure we're following what was originally agreed upon within, okay?
Through the chair related to that, again, just because I can't remember, on the Plan North side of 5 Fisher, where the, at least trailer truck bays appear to be, has that changed from what was approved in the previous submission?
We took that off.
Yeah, it looks like this version of the one that you'll see next, these tractor trailers have, loading docks have been removed, and that will become just parking. I don't know why it came through the layer, but that's,
Okay, so,
But the rear parking, the rear of the building,
yeah.
there's currently 3 in the far side closest to 29,
and we're.
2 closer to Fisher Street.
We're removing
Right.
the ones closest to the residences.
The
There
ones
is-
close to the residents
there's-
are being removed.
There's existing loading docks
Yeah.
that will be infilling tractor parking. We're trying to keep tractor trailers towards the middle of the site,
Yeah.
towards more
So-
the commercial zone.
So what will remain at 5 Fisher is just the 3-bay kind of singular loading dock on the plan northwest side of the building.
Correct, closer
Closest
to
to
29.
29.
Correct. So we're getting rid of the other two that are closer to where this gentleman lives. And
Leaving one on, there'll be one angled loading dock on the
drive
plan
aisle.
north
That
side.
small one.
No.
No?
It's like halfway through the building, the drawing shows two, one is kind of overlaid over parking
Yeah.
spaces. The one overlaid over parking spaces is removed.
But the other one remains.
Yes,
Correct.
yeah.
So, can you
Yeah.
do one more thing, and this will help? Can you highlight where the tractor trailer is gonna be at the loading docks? Just do it in a different color, so we can see which ones are, like, this one's an overlay, that's why I asked the question.
Yeah, no,
So if you could just highlight it, you know, in blue, say, these are where our loading docks are proposed, at least we can see it with the flow of the site, as well as, Mike and Beta and Gary, if that's possible.
I think it is.
It'll just clarify it a little
Yeah.
bit easier for interpretation.
Can I make a suggestion? Mr.
Sure.
Chairman, for the next meeting? Can you bring some boards with the plans on them to point at?
Yeah.
That would be
that's-
really helpful.
That would be easier than,
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, then you can walk through each specific
Right.
area, and we're not just throwing dots at, trying to figure out where it is.
Guessing what you're talking about.
Exactly, okay. So, if there's no more questions or comments, make a motion to continue 3 Fisher Street to
23rd.
October 23rd. And that should give you guys enough time to work through a lot of the bugs that were talked about.
October 23rd?
Correct.
Yes.
Yep. Do I hear a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
We added that additional meeting because we just booked up for the next 3 weeks. We're going back to backs.
Okay.
thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Anybody have any comment? So we make
Motion to adjourn?
a motion to adjourn. Do I hear a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.